Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem El Shai, Ba'ashem HaRakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah, and this is a biblical read-through commentary of the book of Acts, 22nd chapter, and it reads, Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye me my defense, which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he saith, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus. Okay. Now when he said he's a Jew, that pertains to the kingdom of Judea, right? But specifically it'd be of the tribe of Benjamin, as it tells you in the book of Philippians, the third chapter. Alright? But that's why, and this is why in the modern day era, we have these so-called Jews today. They don't distinguish their tribe. All right, they all just actually, well, they don't distinguish their tribe because the tribe is distinguished as being Judah. But then they don't really know they don't, and it shows you that they're not the real Jews because they don't understand to what extent what they're saying entails. All right, there's only one tribe when really that came from the tribe, the kingdom of Judah, being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? Which Levi became part of the kingdom of Judah due to the fact that the northern kingdom kicked them out. They were expelled by um, this guy's name begins with a J, Jeroboam. All right. So verse 3, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel. All right, so Paul was a learned man. All right, born outside of the nation. All right, in Turkey, and basically he didn't stay in that. He didn't become a countryman of an alien land to the Holy Land, the Fatherland, or Motherland, should I say? But basically, he was schooled under a man of great regard. Right, remember Gamaliel spoke of in Acts the 5th chapter as a man being regarded of wisdom. Right, to the point of where the contention that was being brought about with Peter and John due to the Sanhedrin, the high priest and whatnot, that he was able to squash it to the point where all they did was scourge. And even though I say all they did, it weren't a light thing, but it just summed it all up to the point where they just said, don't preach in the name, and it discouraged them, right? And taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward the Most High, as ye all are this day. And I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering into prisons both men and women, all right? As also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders, from whom I also received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, for to be punished. All right. So basically, they gave him license to do these things. All right. So he was a man that their best send out man that basically went out and through his zeal to the law, basically was rounding up any believer in Yahweh Shai, and hey, even if it led to death, with the example is Stephen, all right, Stephen, that he was persecuted in that sense, in that manner, should I say. Verse 6, and it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell unto the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Yahushua Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. All right? So this shows you to what great manner, all right, that Paul was called to be a witness of Yahushua, a servant of the faith, all right, to the point where the light shone on him so strong that the others also saw the light. All right, the light was it was seen. All right, and it brings to mind John the first chapter, where John, it said John was to bear was not this light, but was to bear witness of the light. Now everyone ultimately in this world is going to bear witness of the light of Yahweh Shai by what? The hearing of the word. All right, and in this sense, this is a metaphor, analogy, a metaphorical sense of them seeing a light, which is akin to the hearing of the word. But they don't, them hearing it not being mixed with faith, it don't mean nothing. So them seeing the light not being mixed with faith, it didn't mean nothing to them as well. All right, but it was to the point where they saw it, so they couldn't deny that something great was done. All right, and so I'll read it again, verse 9. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, Arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. And when I could not see for the glory of the light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus. This is a beautiful thing, because I look the saying, to see the light, I'm sure it comes from this. I looked up the origin, but there was no key origin. They said, I'm sure a lot of these idioms, proverbs, sayings, they come from most of them come from biblical sayings, all right, or they're drawn from them, should I say, all right. So in a sense, Paul saw the light, all right, because as we're gonna read on, you're gonna see that you also will see the light. But further on the point, what I wanted to build upon is that this goes into the chastisement of the Lord, all right? How he saw the light, but in seeing the light, it being a blessing, it still made it as to what? He was blind and had to be led on to Damascus. So this shows you another way of even looking, another analogy, example that shows you the light of the Lord, and then how the beauty of the Lord, all right, even though it's a gracious thing that he's shining the light upon you, it doesn't, it comes with something. There's a labor that has to be endured, all right, a chastisement that has to befall upon you, but it's through what? The love of the Heavenly Father, to show you that he loves you and desires you, all right, which is a beautiful thing within itself. Verse 12, and one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there. So lucky, I'm going to read that again, verse 12. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And the same hour I looked up upon him, and he said, the power of our fathers has chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men, and what thou hast seen and heard. And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. So this shows you what? This shows you that he saw the light and also heard the voice of the Heavenly Father and was blessed in that sense. Whereas these other men, they witnessed of the light, but they didn't hear the words of the Heavenly Father, of Yahweh Shai, should I say. Okay, because it wasn't for them. Verse 17, and it came to pass that when I was come again to Yerushalayim, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, and saw him saying unto me, Make haste and get thee quickly out of Yerushalayim, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I imprisoned and beat in every synagogue, that them that believed on me, on thee, Salakia. Verse 20, and when the blood of the martyr, let me read it again, the martyr, all right, and when the blood of thy martyr, Stephen, was shed, I also was standing by, and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him. And he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. All right. Let me read again, man. Slakia. Verse 20. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them which slew him. All right. Now, but remember, what was the words of Stephen? He said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Charge us not the sin to them." Something to that effect. All right. But whose sake was that said? For Paul's. All right. As we're seeing right now, this is the manifestation of those words of the prophet Stephen, the martyr of Yahushua. Verse 21, and he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. All right. And they gave him audience unto this word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. All right. And that was why. Because as soon as they heard the word Gentiles, they went off on one. They weren't having it. All right. That made that made them did kick up a fuss. All right. They didn't want to hear that. All right. Because remember why? What does it say in the book of Romans? It says, or even the prophecy, which is quoted by Paul, it says about the gospel, King David said it in the Psalm. He said that to bring them to jealousy by the heathen, something to that effect. But in Romans it says, since the word, it be expedient that the word first be brought to the Jews, but since they found no profit therein, that it be now sent unto the Gentiles. And throughout the course of this book, you've seen time and time again, whenever the gospel, there was even an occasion where the Jews didn't take to the word, and then the word was brought unto the Greeks. I believe it may be Philip at the time. I can't remember verbatim at what point it was, but the moment they heard that the Greeks were taken to the word, they started going crazy. But the funny thing was, before that, they didn't give a toss about the word. They didn't care. All right. So it's showing you the fulfillment of that prophecy. Verse 23, and as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust into the air, the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle, and bade that he should be examined by scourging. Okay, this is the point. That he might know wherefore they cried so against him. All right. So he said he wanted to understand as to why they did that, by what? Scourging Paul. All right. He didn't even want to ask. He just said, look, let's take him to the castle. We're going to whip him. I'm going to find out why they're going all crazy. Verse 25. And as they bound him with thongs, all right, thongs are basically like a leather strap, all right. You even have today, the modern day thong would be known as not the underwear, but actually leather slippers. You can look it up, and you'll find that they will have leather thongs, and that's the name for like leather sandals with the strap. All right. Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? All right. And this is the same modern day era. Say if it's time during slavery, you basically had slaves that they were regarded as 3/5 of a man. All right. So they weren't seen as a man in the eyes of the law. So they weren't regarded with that esteem of the law. All right. But Paul would technically be a free man. All right. And this is why, as we read on, you're going to see this is such an amazing thing unto the centurion. All right. Verse 26. When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. All right. Verse 27. Oh, man, crazy, man. What's going on? This is crazy. Roman. All right. Verse 27. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yea. And the chief captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, But I was freeborn. All right. So it's like a slave having a slave that or someone like Solomon Northup, 12 years a slave. I believe he was born a free man, all right, in the north. So basically, it's like he's been taken down to the south, and you're like, yo, did you buy your freedom? Nah, I'm freeborn. And that sounds crazy to those in the south, but he wasn't born a slave, all right? And this is the same, this is Paul using the wit, all right, of basically leveraging his citizenship as a Roman to the Roman Empire, man. All right, to basically circumvent this situation that they're trying to pull him into. Verse 29. Then straightway they departed from him which should have examined him, and the chief captain also was afraid after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him, all right? And basically he could go through the judicial system and be seen to this Roman, all right, that he could lose his job, all right? Because for him to be a free man, he believed he could have been done something could be done. But the way he looked to him, he thought he was a man of low estate due to the lowliness of what the men of the Lord. Verse 30, on the morrow